Okay, morning. What I thought I would do is go through the extract once more for anyone who was absent from yesterday's lesson, or if you just want to remind yourselves of the points that we made. Now, remember the essay question that we're doing is about Macbeth and how far he's presented as a man who is in control. So I'm just going to quickly note down our ideas that we were thinking about that. Is he a man that was in control? And lots of you said, well, not really, perhaps at the start of the play. He's presented as a great soldier, a warrior. He's loyal, he's brave. But there are other forces which seem to work against him. These forces, of course, may be represented by the supernatural, and by that, of course, we are alluding to the weird sisters who Shakespeare opens the play with. We have linked in with that. We have Lady Macbeth. Of course, she exerts her own control over him when she uses phrases like the raven himself is hoarse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. There's very much a sense that she makes the plan to murder Duncan, and apart from the act itself, she is also the one who comes up with the idea of how to conceal the murder and how to behave after the murder has occurred. Okay. And of course, we can't forget ambition. Only my vaulting ambition. I'm going to put the word vaulting in there and make it into a little quotation. His vaulting ambition. Also, we might refer to this as his hamartia. His fatal flaw that brings about his downfall. So, if we're writing an essay about to what extent, how far, sorry, is my printer turning off, just printed this out for you, how far is Macbeth a character who's in control? We can all agree we can all agree that Macbeth then is somebody who gives the appearance of control at the start of the play, but these different factors all mean that he descends to perhaps madness, chaos, and ultimately his death. Okay. Now, one of the things that I want you guys to be able to do is I want you to be able to talk about Shakespeare's language a little bit more. And that's why I wanted to annotate this text, the extract that you're going to be given, to highlight not only the aspects of the story that you need to discuss, but actually Shakespeare's language and techniques. You are all very good at talking about the story, talking about Macbeth, what motivates him. However, it's this technique part that we need to improve. Okay, so we're looking at, remember, the title is Control, and I'm going to hopefully highlight those things that give us a link to the argument of control. Okay, right, so the play starts. Remember that this is from Act 3. It tells us that in the exam question. This is from Act 3, Scene 4. It's from the centre of the play. So we would talk about this scene. We want to talk about Act 3, Scene 4. We want to talk about the audience, we want to talk about the impact of the language and so on. So this scene, this extract starts with Lady Macbeth, and we see already in the opening lines, she says, "Sit, worthy friends." Now, sit, worthy friends, of course, this is talking to the other Thanes, who are at the dinner, and she gives the command. She gives the command, sit. Now, it seems like a small thing, but what we see here is that when Macbeth is acting crazy, he can see the ghost and so on, she is not afraid to step up and take control if necessary, and she certainly does so in this scene. But this is also, it's worth noting, the final scene in the play, where we see a strong Lady Macbeth. Okay, so it's worth noting that. So she says, "Sit, worthy friends. My lord is often thus, and hath been from his youth. Pray you, keep seat." So again, she's telling them to stay seated. So she repeats the order. "The fit is momentary. Upon a thought he will be well again. He will again be well. If much you note him, you shall offend him and extend his passion. Feed and regard him not." Feed, of course, is what she's asking them to do. And she gives these she uses these imperatives, imperative verbs, sit down, sit, be quiet. These imperative verbs are used to give commands with that real sense that she is in control. Now here, this marks an aside. That means she is, in this final part of her speech, talking to Macbeth alone. So she's talking only to Macbeth. And she uses this question, "Are you a man?" We've seen this method of control before from Lady Macbeth. This links to Act 2. When she says, "When you just tell me this, then you were a man." When she challenges, or when she shames Macbeth into action. Okay, so here, where she had control before, she's using the same technique again to try and control him here. Macbeth, of course, can see the ghost of Banquo, and he says, "I and a bold one that dare look on that which might appall the devil." Now, here I can't help but feel that Shakespeare is suggesting that the supernatural, that the devilish powers within the play might be at work. He says, "I am looking at something that the devil would be appalled at." So, is it suggesting that Macbeth is worse than the devil? I don't know. But certainly by saying that it might appall the devil, we realise that we have a sense that the supernatural controls the scene. And is Macbeth is so fallen that he can now see the ghost. Lady Macbeth responds, "Oh, proper stuff. This is the very painting of your fear." The painting of your fear. The painting, of course, might refer to the hallucination. And his fear, remember we said before as well, that does his fear control Macbeth? Is it his fear or is it his ambition? This is the air-drawn dagger, which you said led you to Duncan. Now, my essay's about control. I think this is really interesting. Which, you said, led you to Duncan. So here we have very explicitly this idea that Macbeth has already revealed to Lady Macbeth. Macbeth revealed the supernatural control that he felt with the murder of Duncan. I'm going to put regicide, the murder of the king. Oh, these flaws and starts, impostors to true fear, would well become a woman's story at a winter's fire, authorised by her grandam or her grandmother. Now this here again is Lady Macbeth shaming Macbeth by calling him womanly, trying to exert her control by diminishing him. Shame itself, why do you make such faces? When all is said and done, you look but on a stool, a chair. Macbeth, however, in his language conveys a loss of control. He says, pray thee, see there, behold, look, lo, how say you? Look, the fragmented speech reflects his state of mind. And then finally, if charnel houses and our graves must send those we bury back, our monuments shall be the moors of kites. The moors of kites, the kites of course are the hawks, and he's saying that they will be cursed to be eaten by the birds. Okay, so again here at the end, if we're thinking about the question of control, if he says about the graves sending back those we bury, again it's alluding to this idea that the supernatural has control. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is you need to try and link a little more with the language and the audience using these notes. Okay, thank you very much. Just to be a little bit clearer, look, I'm just putting a little star. All of these things here, imperative verbs, commands, the use of an aside, the language of the repeated language of woman and grandmother, the fragmented speech, all of these are techniques as well as talking about the language itself. Okay, I think that's everything. I hope you found that useful. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.